This lesson is on compound propositions, dealing with conjunction and disjunction. The definition for a compound proposition is statements that are formed with connective words such as and or. So I'd probably highlight the definition of compound proposition using the word and or. Conjunctions propositions are two propositions joined by the word and. The notation we use is P and Q. It looks like an upside down V. Trying to go to the next page here, guys. Next page. All right, I think my calibration's a little bit off. All right, here's the next one. Conjunction is only true when both propositions are true. So here's an example. Eli has soup for lunch. Eli had pie for lunch. The propositions are P and Q, and if they're both true, then you'd say Eli had soup and pie for lunch. This is only true if they've had both. So we're going to be getting into more of the truth tables that were introduced on the last lesson. So I want you to make sure you're aware that if you have both of them true, like proposition P and proposition Q, then P and Q is also true. Now notice the other three rows in the truth table. Let's say proposition P is true, where Eli had soup for lunch. But then proposition Q, he did not have pie for lunch. And that would mean it is not true for both. And that's the same thing holding true for these last three columns. So for the conjunction to be true, you have to have both true. So I want you to highlight conjunction is true only when both of those propositions are true. So again, in your truth table, what I've highlighted in the yellow, both have to be true for the conjunction to be true. How does it look as a Venn diagram? Here are your two propositions, proposition P and proposition Q. Notice that overlap is when they are both true, and we worked with Venn diagrams earlier this year. All right, the next definition is called a disjunction. Disjunction uses the word or. So again, conjunction uses the word and, disjunction uses the word or. So disjunction propositions have or in between them. So the notation we use is P or Q, that's going to have the letter V in between it. I think my calibration is off. All right. So here's an example of a disjunction. Disjunction is true only when both of them are true or one of them is true. So again, highlight. Disjunction is true when one or both are true. So here's an example of Frank played tennis today, Frank played golf today. Then the disjunction is Frank played tennis or golf today. So disjunctions can also be false if you have them both be false. All right, so here we go. I'm going to move this down a bit. So here's what the truth table will look like in a disjunction. So if they're both true, then the disjunction is true. If one of them is true, then the disjunction is true. Again, same thing for this one. So all of those will be true disjunctions. Now notice the last row. If the first proposition is false, the second proposition is false, then the disjunction is false. Here's what the truth set looks like for a Venn diagram for a disjunction. Notice you have an overlap and we have both pieces shaded. So it's shading all of this because it's the word or.